The interstate stretched ahead, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the night. I had been driving for hours, the hum of the engine and the occasional crackle of the radio my only companions. The road had become my world, each mile marker ticking by like a countdown to somewhere I couldn't quite name. Then I saw her. Amelia stood on the shoulder, her figure illuminated by the glow of my headlights. A backpack slung over her shoulder, thumb outstretched in a silent plea for a ride. Her face was lit with determination, and something about her presence caught me off guard. It wasn't often I picked up hitchhikers, but tonight was different. I signaled and pulled over, the rumble of my truck easing into silence as she approached. She climbed up into the cab with a grateful smile, settling into the passenger seat beside me. "Thanks for stopping," she said, her voice soft yet confident. "Heading west?" I nodded, checking the mirrors before merging back onto the road. "Yeah, what about you? Where are you headed?" "Oklahoma," she replied, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery. "I need to get back home." Home. The word hung in the air, heavy with unspoken stories. I glanced at her profile, noting the faint lines of exhaustion and determination etched into her features. "Long way from here," I remarked, trying to break the ice. She chuckled softly, a sound that seemed to fill the cab with warmth. "Yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm used to traveling." Silence settled between us, comfortable yet charged with curiosity. I stole glances at her, wondering about the life she left behind, the reasons that led her to this lonely stretch of highway. "So, what's your story?" she asked suddenly, turning to meet my gaze with a playful glint in her eyes. I hesitated, surprised by her directness. "Just a trucker," I finally said with a shrug. "Been on the road for years now. It's a different kind of life." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I get that. It must be freeing in a way." "It has its moments," I admitted, smiling wryly. "What about you? What brings you all the way out here?" Amelia leaned back in her seat, her eyes scanning the darkness beyond the windshield. "Life," she said softly. "Life and its twists and turns. Sometimes you just have to keep moving forward, you know?" I nodded, understanding more than she could possibly know. The road had a way of unraveling stories, weaving together lives that might never cross paths otherwise. As the miles rolled by, we fell into an easy rhythm of conversation, from the mundane details of truck stops and roadside diners to deeper discussions about dreams and disappointments. We shared pieces of ourselves that lingered in the air like the faint scent of diesel fuel. By the time the first hints of dawn painted the horizon, I knew that picking up Amelia had been more than just a chance encounter. It was the beginning of a journey that would change both our lives in ways we couldn't yet imagine. Days turned into weeks as Amelia and I traveled together, our truck becoming a cocoon of shared stories and growing connection. Each stretch of road brought us closer, weaving our lives together in ways neither of us anticipated. The rhythm of the road became our routine. Early mornings greeted us with the soft glow of sunrise as we navigated through sleepy towns and bustling cities alike. Amelia proved to be a quick learner, navigating maps and assisting with logistics as if she had been born to ride shotgun. "So how did you learn to drive like this?" she asked one morning, flipping through a worn atlas spread across her lap. I chuckled, adjusting my grip on the wheel. "Started young, I guess. Grew up around trucks back home. Took to it like fish to water." She nodded thoughtfully, tracing a route with her finger. "Must be nice knowing your way around." "You get used to it," I said with a shrug, glancing at her fondly. "What about you? What's your story, Amelia?" Her gaze softened, a hint of sadness flickering in her eyes before she composed herself. "Grew up in Oklahoma, small town, lots of fields. Always dreamed of seeing more than just cornfields and cattle." I nodded, understanding the ache for something beyond the familiar. "And now you're out here, seeing the world from the passenger seat of a truck." "Yeah," she said softly, a smile tugging at her lips. "Funny how life works out sometimes." Our conversations ranged from the mundane to the profound. We debated the best truck stops for a hearty meal and shared quiet moments watching the stars paint patterns across the night sky. In those stolen moments of peace, I found myself opening up in ways I hadn't with anyone else. "You ever miss it?" Amelia asked one night, her voice a whisper against the hum of the engine. "Miss what?" I replied, glancing at her in the dim light. "Home," she clarified. "Family, friends, the things that keep you grounded." I considered her question, the weight of homesickness settling in my chest. Sometimes I admitted quietly, but this is my life now. The road, the freedom. It's hard to imagine anything else. She nodded, her expression thoughtful. I get that. It's like chasing a dream, isn't it? Finding your place in the world. It is, I agreed, feeling a surge of gratitude for her understanding. And I'm glad you're here with me, Amelia. As the miles stretched out before us, our bond deepened. We shared moments of laughter and quiet reflection, finding solace in each other's company amidst the vastness of the open road. By the time we reached another milestone on our journey, I knew that Amelia had become more than just a passenger. She was my confidant, my co-pilot, and perhaps the missing piece I hadn't known I was searching for. The weeks turned into months as Amelia and I continued our journey together, the truck becoming a haven where our friendship blossomed into something deeper. We navigated the highways and byways, encountering challenges that tested our resolve and moments of beauty that strengthened our bond. As we drove through the heartland of America, Amelia became an integral part of my daily life on the road. She handled paperwork, managed logistics, and even learned how to perform basic maintenance checks on the truck. "You're getting pretty good at this," I remarked one afternoon, watching her inspect the engine with a furrowed brow. She grinned, wiping grease off her hands with a rag. "Thanks to your patient teaching." I chuckled, leaning against the side of the truck. It's not every day I find someone who's eager to learn the ropes. "Well, I figure if I'm going to ride along, I might as well pull my weight," she replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. Our conversations deepened as we shared more about our pasts and dreams for the future. In the quiet hours between destinations, we discussed everything from childhood memories to philosophical ponderings about life on the road. "I never thought I'd enjoy this life," Amelia confessed one evening, staring out at the sunset painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "Why's that?" I asked, curious about her perspective. She shrugged, a wistful smile on her lips. "I guess I always imagined settling down in one place, you know? But being out here with you, seeing new places, meeting new people, it's opened my eyes to a different kind of freedom." I nodded in understanding, grateful for the companionship that had become the cornerstone of my journey. It's funny how life surprises us sometimes. Amelia turned to me, her gaze soft yet searching. "Do you ever regret this life, choosing the road over everything else?" I considered her question carefully, reflecting on the years spent chasing horizons and navigating the unknown. "There are moments," I admitted quietly. "Times when I miss the stability of a home, the familiarity of routine. But then I look at what we've built together, the experiences we've shared, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." She smiled, reaching out to squeeze my hand. "I'm glad you picked me up that night." "Me too," I said sincerely, feeling a rush of warmth at her touch. Our closeness extended beyond words as we found comfort in each other's presence. Nights spent under a canopy of stars turned into shared laughter and whispered confidences, binding us together in ways that defied the miles we traveled. By the time we reached another milestone in our journey, I knew that Amelia had become more than just a passenger. She was my partner in adventure, my anchor amidst the ever-changing landscape of life on the road. And as we continued to navigate the twists and turns ahead, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected journey that brought us together. The intimacy between Amelia and me grew steadily as we continued our travels across the country. Our truck became not only our workplace but also a sanctuary where our bond deepened in unexpected ways. Late one evening, after a particularly grueling stretch of road, we found ourselves parked at a quiet rest area nestled among towering trees. The air was thick with the scent of pine, and the soft glow of the moon filtered through the leaves above us. Amelia sat beside me in the cab, her gaze fixed on the starlit sky. "It's nights like these that make you appreciate the beauty of this world," she mused, her voice barely above a whisper. I nodded in agreement, feeling a surge of gratitude for moments like this, shared with someone who understood the allure of the open road as deeply as I did. As the night wore on, our conversations grew more intimate. We spoke of our fears and vulnerabilities, laying bare our hopes and dreams in the quiet solitude of our makeshift home. "I never expected to find this kind of connection out here," Amelia confessed, her eyes reflecting the moonlight, "but I'm glad I did." I turned to her, struck by the sincerity in her voice. "Me too," I replied softly, reaching out to gently brush a strand of hair from her face. Our closeness led to moments of tenderness and passion, shared in the privacy of our truck cabin. The confines of our small space became a haven where we could express our love for each other freely, without the constraints of time or place. "William," she whispered one night, her breath warm against my ear. "Do you ever wonder what comes next for us?" I pulled her closer, savoring the feel of her in my arms. "I think about it," I admitted, pressing a kiss to her forehead, "but right now, I'm just grateful to have you here with me." Amelia nestled against me, her heartbeat steady against mine. "Me too," she murmured, her voice filled with contentment. In the quiet hours before dawn, we found solace in each other's presence, the weight of our shared experiences binding us together in ways that transcended words. By the time the first rays of sunlight filtered through the trees, I knew that our love had grown stronger amidst the challenges and joys of life on the road. Amelia had become more than just my co-pilot. She was my partner, my confidant, and the person I couldn't imagine navigating this journey without. As we prepared to continue our journey, I felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that our love would guide us through whatever lay ahead. Together, we would face the unknown with courage and resilience, bound by a love that had blossomed unexpectedly amidst the vast expanse of the open road. The days had turned into months, and our journey together had evolved into something deeper than I had ever imagined possible. Amelia and I had traversed countless miles, sharing moments of laughter, quiet contemplation, and deepening affection. As we approached a significant milestone in our relationship, I knew it was time to take the next step. It was a crisp autumn day when we arrived in Amelia's hometown in Oklahoma. The streets were lined with trees ablaze in hues of red and gold, a vibrant backdrop to the scene that would unfold. I had planned the proposal meticulously, seeking her family's blessing and orchestrating a surprise that would leave her speechless. With nerves tingling beneath my calm exterior, I took Amelia aside on the pretext of exploring her childhood haunts. "William, this is where I used to play as a kid," she exclaimed, leading me through a park dotted with memories of her youth. I smiled, watching her animated gestures and the way her eyes lit up with nostalgia. "It's beautiful," I remarked, squeezing her hand gently. We wandered through familiar streets, sharing stories and laughter as we revisited the places that held special meaning for her. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden glow over everything it touched, I knew it was time to reveal my surprise. "Amelia," I began, stopping in a quiet corner of the park where a bench overlooked a serene pond. "There's something I want to ask you." She turned to me, her eyes wide with anticipation. "What is it, William?" Taking a deep breath, I knelt before her, my heart pounding in my chest. "Amelia, from the moment we met on that lonely stretch of highway, you've changed my life in ways I never thought possible. You show me the beauty of the road and the joy of having someone by my side. Will you marry me?" For a moment, time seemed to stand still as she stared at me, emotions flickering across her face. Then, a tear slipped down her cheek, and she nodded fervently. "Yes, William, yes, I will marry you." Relief and joy flooded through me as I slipped the ring onto her finger, sealing our commitment with a promise that echoed through the years we had spent together. The setting sun cast a warm glow around us, a silent witness to the beginning of our new chapter. "Isn't it strange?" Amelia remarked one evening as we sat on the porch of our modest home, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "To think how far we've come from that first ride in your truck." I nodded, a smile tugging at my lips. "It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Yet here we are, building a life together." We dove into the intricacies of running a trucking business, leveraging my experience on the road and Amelia's newfound skills in logistics and administration. Together, we tackled challenges head-on, from negotiating contracts to managing a growing fleet of trucks. "This load is a big one," Amelia noted one morning over breakfast, her brow furrowed in concentration as she reviewed the latest dispatch. I leaned over, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We've handled bigger," I reassured her. "With you by my side, I know we can do this." Her gaze softened, a hint of gratitude in her eyes. "I'm glad you believe in us, William." Our conversations evolved from planning routes and managing schedules to Amelia smiled, her hand finding mine. "I wouldn't have it any other way, William. Here's to us." And as we looked ahead to the future, filled with new challenges and adventures, I knew that together, we would continue to celebrate each milestone with the same love, dedication, and sense of purpose that had defined our journey from the very beginning.